St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle in England is a castle chapel built in the late medieval Perpendicular Gothic style. It is both a royal peculiar and the chapel of the Order of the Garter. St. George's Chapel was founded in the 14th century by King Edward III and extensively enlarged in the late 15th century. It is located in the lower ward of the castle. The castle has belonged to the monarchy for almost 1,000 years and was a principal residence of Elizabeth II before her death. The chapel has been the scene of many royal services, weddings, and burials in the 19th century. St. George's Chapel and the nearby Frogmore Gardens superseded Westminster Abbey as the chosen burial place for the British royal family. The running of the chapel is the responsibility of the Dean and Canons of Windsor, who make up the College of St. George. They are assisted by a clerk, verger, and other staff. The Society of the Friends of St. George's and Descendants of the Knights of the Garter, a registered charity, was established in 1931 to assist the college in maintaining the chapel. History. Development of the building. In 1348, King Edward III founded two religious colleges, St. Stephen's at Westminster and St. George's at Windsor. The new college at Windsor was attached to the chapel of St. Edward the Confessor, which had been constructed by Henry III in the early 13th century. The chapel was then rededicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary, George the Martyr and Edward the Confessor, but soon became known only by its dedication to St. George. Edward III also built the Airy Porch in 1353-54. The period 1475–1528 saw a radical redevelopment of St. George's Chapel set in motion by Edward IV and continued by Henry VII under the supervision of his most esteemed counsellor, Sir Reginald Bray, and by Henry VIII. The 13th-century chapel of St. Edward the Confessor was enlarged into a cathedral-like space under the direction of Richard Beauchamp, Bishop of Salisbury, and the master mason, Henry Janens. The chapel suffered a great deal of destruction during the English Civil War. Parliamentary forces broke into and plundered the chapel and treasury on October 23, 1642. Further pillage occurred in 1643 when the 15th-century chapter house was destroyed, lead was stripped off the chapel roofs, and elements of Henry VIII's unfinished funeral monument were stolen. Following his execution in 1649, Charles I was buried in a small vault in the centre of the choir at St. George's Chapel, which also contained the coffins of Henry VIII and Queen Jane. During his life and reign, King George III was responsible for reigniting royal interest in Windsor Castle, which had been much overlooked after the House of Hanover came to the throne of the Great Britain in 1714. On August 12, 1776, the royal family first attended the Sunday morning service at St. George's Chapel, which they called the Cathedral. George III was committed to St. George's Chapel. He inspired and in large part funded an extensive restoration of the chapel from 1780 to 1790. The reign of Queen Victoria saw further changes made to the structure of the chapel. The east end of the choir was reworked in memory of Prince Albert. The Lady Chapel, which had been abandoned by Henry VII, was completed and renamed the Albert Memorial Chapel. By the early 20th century, the bowing walls, cracked vaulting, decayed stone and stripped lead required urgent attention. In 1920 a much-needed 10-year restoration project began at George's Chapel, overseen by the consulting architect Sir Harold Brackspear. As part of this program, Mohammed Thomas Phillips, an Anglo-Congolese sculptor, produced a falcon and a unicorn in 1923. The King George VI Memorial Chapel was constructed in 1969 between the Rutland Chapel and the North Choir of St. George's Chapel to a design by George Pace. The Queen's Beasts. On the roof of the chapel, standing on the pinnacles, and also on pinnacles at the sides, are 76 heraldic statues representing the Queen's Beasts, showing the royal supporters of England. They represent 14 of the heraldic animals, the Lion of England, the Red Dragon of Wales, the Panther of Jane Seymour, the Falcon of York, the Black Bull of Clarence, the Yale of Beaufort, the White Lion of Mortimer, the Greyhound of Richmond, the White Hart of Richard II, the Collared Silver Antelope of Bohun, the Black Dragon of Ulster, the White Swan of Hereford, the Unicorn of Edward III and the Golden Hind of Kent. The original beasts dated from the 16th century, but were removed in 1682 on the advice of Sir Christopher Wren. Wren had criticized the Reigate stone, the calcareous sandstone from which they were constructed. The present statues date from 1925 when the chapel was restored. The Choir of St. George's Chapel. The choir of St. George's Chapel continues to this day and numbers 20. The choristers are boarders at St. George's School, Windsor Castle. Dean and Canons. Order of the Garter. Garter Service. Members of the Order of the Garter meet at Windsor Castle every June for the annual Garter Service. After lunch in the state apartments, they process on foot in their robes and insignia, down to St. George's Chapel for the service. The Garter Service was revived in 1948 by King George VI for the 600th anniversary of the founding of the order and has since become an annual event. Heraldry. After their installation, members are each assigned a stall in the chapel choir above which his or her heraldic devices are displayed. A member's sword is placed beneath a helmet which is decorated with a mantling and topped with a crest, coronet, or crown. Above this, a member's heraldic banner is hoisted emblazoned with his arms. A garter stall plate, a small elaborately enameled plate of brass, is affixed to the back of the stall displaying its member's name and arms with other inscriptions. On a member's death, the sword, helmet, mantling, crest, coronet or crown, and banner are removed. A service marking the death of a late member must be held before the stall can be assigned to anyone else. The ceremony takes place in the chapel, during which the military knights of Windsor carry the banner of the deceased member and offer it to the Dean of Windsor, who places it on the altar. The stall plates, however, are not removed. They remain permanently affixed to the stall, so the stalls of the chapel are emblazoned with a collection of 800 plates of the members throughout history. Chantries. St. George's Chapel is among the most important medieval chantry foundations to have survived in England. The college was itself part of a medieval chantry, and there are a number of other chantry elements in the form of altars and small chapels in memory of various English monarchs and of a number of prominent courtiers, deans, and canons. Special services and prayers would also be offered in memory of the founder. Henry VIII had originally intended another chantry to be set up in the chapel, despite the fact that his ecclesiastical changes led to the Reformation in England and the eventual suppression of chantries. The much-admired iron gates in the sanctuary of the chapel as well as the locks on the doors of the chapel are the work of the medieval Cornish metalsmith John Tresilian. Rutland Chantry. The Rutland Chantry Chapel, forming the northern transept of St. George's Chapel, was founded in 1491 in honour of Sir Thomas St. Leger and Anne of York. Sir Thomas was Anne's second husband. She was the eldest surviving daughter of Richard Plantagenet, 3rd Duke of York, and thus elder sister of Kings Edward IV and Richard III. A monumental brass in memory of Anne and Sir Thomas survives on the east wall of the Rutland Chantry, the inscription of which records that the chantry was founded with 2 priests singing forevermore. Wythenthe's chapel lieth buried Anne Duchess of Exeter sister unto the noble King Edward the Forte. And also the body of Sir Thomas Sellinger Knyght her husband which hath funda within Thes College at Chaunter with 2 prestes Sygyng for evermore. On whose soul God have mercy. The which Anne Duchess died in the year of our Lord M1000CCCCLXXV. The chantry received its current name in honour of the Earls of Rutland, descendants of Anne and Sir Thomas. Their daughter, also Anne, married George Manners, 11th Baron Ros, and their son was Thomas Manners, 1st Earl of Rutland. The tomb of George and Anne Manners is a prominent feature of the chantry. Their effigies are carved in English alabaster. The chantry comprises 5 panels which represent the Annunciation, the Visitation, the Adoration of the Magi, the Temptations of Christ in the Wilderness and the Miracle at Cana. They were commissioned from embroiderer Beryl Dean and took 5 years to complete. Only one panel is normally on display to the public, but the others may be seen on request. Weddings. The chapel has been the site of many royal weddings, particularly of the children of Queen Victoria. They have included Charles, then Prince of Wales, and Camilla Parker Bowles received a blessing from the Archbishop of Canterbury. Burials. The chapel has been the site of many royal funerals and interments. People interred in the chapel include Altar. George Plantagenet, Duke of Bedford, on March 22, 1479, son of Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville. Mary of York, in 1482, daughter of Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville. Edward IV, King of England, in 1483. Henry VI, King of England, in 1484. The coffins of 2 unidentified children suggested to be the princes in the Tower, sons of Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville. Elizabeth Woodville, Queen Consort of England, on June 12, 1492, wife of Edward IV. Princess Louise of Saxe-Weimar-Eisenach, in 1832, niece of Adelaide of Saxe-Meiningen. Edward VII, King of the United Kingdom and Emperor of India, on May 20, 1910. Alexandra of Denmark, Queen Consort of the United Kingdom and Empress Consort of India, on November 28, 1925, wife of Edward VII. Choir. Jane Seymour, Queen Consort of England, in 1537, third wife of Henry VIII. Henry VIII, King of England and Ireland, in 1547. Charles I, King of England, Scotland, and Ireland, in 1649. Stillborn son of Anne, Queen of Great Britain, and Prince George of Denmark, in 1698. Royal Vault. Princess Amelia of the United Kingdom, in 1810, daughter of George III and Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. Princess Augusta of Great Britain, Duchess Consort of Brunswick-Lunenburg, in 1813, daughter of Frederick, Prince of Wales, and Augusta of Saxe-Gotha-Altenburg. Princess Charlotte of Wales, in 1817, daughter of George IV and Caroline of Brunswick-Wolfenbüttel. Stillborn son of Princess Charlotte of Wales and Prince Leopold of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld, in 1817. Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, Queen Consort of the United Kingdom and Hanover, in 1818, wife of George III. Stillborn daughter of Ernest Augustus, King of Hanover, and Frederica of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, in 1818. George III, King of the United Kingdom and Hanover, in 1820. Prince Edward, Duke of Kent and Strathern, in 1820, father of Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom. Prince Alfred of Great Britain, in 1820, son of George III and Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. Prince Octavius of Great Britain, in 1820, son of George III and Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. Princess Elizabeth of Clarence, in 1821, daughter of William IV and Adelaide of Saxe-Meiningen. Prince Frederick, Duke of York and Albany, in 1827, son of George III and Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. George IV, King of the United Kingdom and Hanover, in 1830. William IV, King of the United Kingdom and Hanover, in 1837. Princess Augusta Sophia of the United Kingdom, in 1840, daughter of George III and Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. Adelaide of Saxe-Meiningen, Queen Consort of the United Kingdom and Hanover, in 1849, wife of William IV. George V, the last King of Hanover, in 1878, grandson of George III and Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. Princess Mary Adelaide of Cambridge, Duchess of Teck, in 1897, daughter of Prince Adolphus, Duke of Cambridge and Princess Augusta of Hesse-Kassel, mother of Mary of Teck. Francis, Duke of Teck, in 1900, father of Mary of Teck. Princess Frederica of Hanover, Baroness von Pauwels-Rammingen, in 1926, daughter of George V, King of Hanover, and Marie of Saxe-Altenburg. Prince Adolphus, Duke of Cambridge, in 1930, son of George III and Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. Princess Augusta of Hesse-Kassel, Duchess of Cambridge, in 1930, wife of Prince Adolphus, Duke of Cambridge. Near West Door. George V, King of the United Kingdom and Emperor of India, in 1936. Mary of Teck, Queen Consort of the United Kingdom and Empress Consort of India, in 1953, wife of George V. King George VI Memorial Chapel. George VI, King of the United Kingdom, Emperor of India and Head of the Commonwealth, on March 26, 1969. Princess Margaret, Countess of Snowdon, in 2002, daughter of George VI and Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. Elizabeth, Queen Consort of the United Kingdom and Empress Consort of India, in 2002, wife of George VI. Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, in 2022, husband of Elizabeth II. Elizabeth II, Queen of the United Kingdom and Head of the Commonwealth, in 2022. Albert Memorial Chapel. Baroness Victoria von Pauwels-Rammingen, in 1881, daughter of Princess Frederica of Hanover and Alphonse, Baron von Pauwels-Rammingen. Prince Leopold, Duke of Albany, in 1884, son of Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom and Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence and Avondale, in 1892, son of Edward VII and Alexandra of Denmark. Gloucester Vault. Prince William Henry, Duke of Gloucester and Edinburgh, in 1805, son of Frederick, Prince of Wales and Augusta of Saxe-Gotha-Altenburg. Maria, Duchess of Gloucester and Edinburgh, in 1807, wife of Prince William Henry, Duke of Gloucester and Edinburgh. Prince William Frederick, Duke of Gloucester and Edinburgh, in 1834, son of Prince William Henry, Duke of Gloucester and Edinburgh and Maria Walpole. Princess Sophia of Gloucester, in 1844, daughter of Prince William Henry, Duke of Gloucester and Edinburgh and Maria Walpole. Princess Mary of the United Kingdom, Duchess of Gloucester and Edinburgh, in 1857, daughter of George III and Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, wife of Prince William Frederick, Duke of Gloucester and Edinburgh. Others. William Hastings, 1st Baron Hastings, in the North Aisle of St. George's Chapel, close friend of Edward IV. Anne Manners, Baroness de Ros, in the private Rutland Chapel, niece of Edward IV and Richard III. George Manners, 11th Baron de Ros, in the private Rutland Chapel, husband of Anne St. Leger. Charles Brandon, 1st Duke of Suffolk, in 1545, second husband of Mary Tudor. Christopher Villars, 1st Earl of Anglesey, in 1631. Henry Somerset, 1st Duke of Beaufort and his ancestors in the private Beaufort Chapel. Penistone Booth, Dean of Windsor. Lieutenant General Sir John Ely, in the North Choir Isle, commoner who distinguished himself at the Battle of Waterloo. Dejaz Mach Alamea Tudros, on November 21, 1879, son of Tudros II, Emperor of Ethiopia. Former burials. Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld, Duchess of Kent and Strathern, in 1861, mother of Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom, moved to the Duchess of Kent's mausoleum later that year. Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, Prince Consort, in 1861, husband of Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom, moved to the Frogmore Royal Mausoleum in 1862. Prince Harold of Schleswig-Holstein, in 1876, son of Princess Helena of the United Kingdom and Prince Christian of Schleswig-Holstein, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1928. Prince Francis of Teck, in 1910, brother of Mary of Teck, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1928. Alexander Duff, 1st Duke of Fife, in 1912, husband of Louise, Princess Royal, and father of Princess Alexandra, 2nd Duchess of Fife, moved to St. Ninian's Chapel later that year. Princess Louise Margaret of Prussia, Duchess of Connaught and Strathern, in 1917, wife of Prince Arthur, Duke of Connaught and Strathern, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1928. Prince Christian of Schleswig-Holstein, in 1917, husband of Princess Helena of the United Kingdom, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1928. Lord Leopold Mountbatten, in 1922, son of Princess Beatrice of the United Kingdom and Prince Henry of Battenberg, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1928. Princess Helena of the United Kingdom, Princess Christian of Schleswig-Holstein, in 1923, daughter of Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom, and Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1928. Lieutenant Colonel Adolphus Cambridge, 1st Marquess of Cambridge, in 1927, brother of Mary of Teck, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1928. Rupert Cambridge, Viscount Trematon, in 1928, son of Alexander Cambridge, 1st Earl of Athlone and Princess Alice of Albany, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground later that year. Louise, Princess Royal, Duchess of Fife, in 1931, daughter of Edward VII and Alexandra of Denmark, moved to St. Ninian's Chapel later that year. Princess Victoria of the United Kingdom, in 1935, daughter of Edward VII and Alexandra of Denmark, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1936. Prince Arthur of Connaught, in 1938, son of Prince Arthur, Duke of Connaught and Strathern, and Princess Louise Margaret of Prussia, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1939. Princess Louise of the United Kingdom, Duchess of Argyll, in 1939, daughter of Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom, and Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1940. Prince Arthur, Duke of Connaught and Strathern, in 1942, son of Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom, and Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1942. Prince George, Duke of Kent, in 1942, son of George V and Mary of Teck, moved to Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1968. Princess Beatrice of the United Kingdom, Princess Henry of Battenberg, in 1944, daughter of Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom, and Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, moved to St. Mildred's Church in 1945. Princess Helena Victoria of Schleswig-Holstein, in 1948, daughter of Princess Helena of the United Kingdom and Prince Christian of Schleswig-Holstein, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1948. Princess Marie-Louise of Schleswig-Holstein, Princess Aribert of Anhalt, in 1956, daughter of Princess Helena of the United Kingdom and Prince Christian of Schleswig-Holstein, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground in 1957. Major General Alexander Cambridge, 1st Earl of Athlone, in 1957, brother of Mary of Teck, moved to the Frogmore Royal Burial Ground later that year. Princess Alice of Battenberg, Princess Andrew of Greece and Denmark, in 1969, mother of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, moved to Church of Mary Magdalene in Jerusalem, in 1988. In literature, Wenceslas Haller. View and ground plan of St. George's Chapel, Windsor ca. 1671. John Henry L. E. Kerr. St. George's Chapel, Windsor. Ground plan 1810. Engraved after a plan by F. Mackenzie, published in Britain's Architectural Antiquities of Great Britain, 1807. Copper engraved antique plan. See also: Choir of St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle. Dean of Windsor. Dean and Canons of Windsor. Francis Egginton. List of Knights and Ladies of the Garter. Order of the Garter. St. George in Devotions, Traditions, and Prayers. The Society of the Friends of St. George's and Descendants of the Knights of the Garter. Windsor Castle. Historical monographs relating to St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle. Royal Chapel of All Saints.